Hey, what's up, guys? Live here, Ocean City, New Jersey, the Pat Bernard Show. Pat's going to be in here shortly. But yeah, we're here talking Flyers, talking some Sixers, and it's Cowboys week. This is the week that we all look forward to as Eagles fans. So we're going to be talking about that a little bit. Pat's having a little bit of trouble with his connection right now, but he should be in shortly. So I just want to start off by getting into some of these Sixers talk. It is bleak, to say the least, with the Philadelphia 76ers this year. With the injury front and with the on the court play, it has not been looking good. Joel Embiid is sorely missed. Paul George has not really acclimated himself into the offense yet and into this team and to the role that he needs to be. And now we just had devastating news with Tyrese Maxey going down. Hamstring injury. Looks like he's going to be out for 2 to 3 weeks. Hopefully it's not as bad as it could be with a hamstring and linger throughout the rest of the year. He's definitely going to be the guy that we're going to lean on throughout this year to score. So hopefully we can get Maxey back into the fold and start turning this offense around, start turning this team around. One win is not the way that we predicted this season to go for the 76ers. Love to see what you guys say. Chime in with some questions or how you feel about this team. Paul George is the one that I'm the most concerned about because I think that he can be a player that can burden a lot of this offense now with Maxey gone. I'm going to look towards him to really take a step up and start putting up 30 shots a game, 25, 30 shots a game. He's going to have to be the guy. Hopefully the offense will start running through him. He's one of those point forward guys that can dominate the ball. He loves to do the old pull up threes and take people off the dribble with mid range shots. So hopefully we start seeing a little bit more of that out of Paul George this year. With Joel hopefully coming back Tuesday for the first game. Haven't got an official word if he's back yet, but I know the suspension's over then, so he will be eligible to play on Tuesday. What's up, Pat? Welcome back, buddy.
Well, what's going on? Listen, guys, we are back. We are live. Just had to handle some business, but yes, let's get into it, John. Another Philadelphia week where nothing. There's never a dull moment in Philadelphia sports. It's always sunny here in Philly, no point intended. But listen, we have a big week, and I want to start out with this Philadelphia Flyers team because if you looked at the schedule with the Philadelphia Flyers, they played against you looked at the road trip that they went on and played against Carolina, Tampa Bay, and the Florida Panthers. You would easily say that's 6 points right off the board that you're not going to get. However, this Flyers team did get 3 points on the road. So, for this team, that's a little bit of improvement. And John Tortorella, where everybody thought he was a loony bug for benching Mitchkov, turned out to be a little bit of a bright spot. Now, for me, I like the move because I think it's kind of woke up the team a little bit. We've seen it. This was your typical dump and chase hockey. This was boring hockey. And you can't have a boring brand of Flyers hockey. So maybe John Tortorella said, you know what? I'm going to bench the franchise piece and maybe wake up this team. And their offense actually took it up a gear because you saw it. They win 2-1 over Tampa. Then they had another shootout. They've been in a couple of dogfights with the Florida teams. They lose 3-4 to the Panthers, but again, took them to the overtime, took them the distance. They didn't take till Evan Rodriguez in the 5th round of a shootout to beat this Flyers team. I mean, I'm seeing better shoot opportunities from this team. They need to get a little bit better at winning pucks against the boards and stop turning over in the neutral zone. But other than that, I think this Flyers team, it did. I think the wake up call came right at them unexpectedly. What's your take?
Yeah, I definitely think the benching of Mitchkov was a wake up call, right? That yes, this is supposed to be a rebuild. Yes, this is a restructure of this team, but no, we're not going to settle for that, right? John Tortorella is not going to settle for that. He's going to send a message. You have to know your players, especially a young superstar like Mitchkov is. You got to know his temperament and know if he can handle that benching, which it seems like, Torts has a feel for this team and knows that, hey, he's going to respond to me benching him and come out stronger, which it looks like the whole entire team did. Now, I do want to disagree with one thing that you said. The old dump and chase method is boring hockey. I don't think it is. I want to see more of that. You just said it right before you turned it over to me. Is they turn the puck over a lot in the neutral zone, right?
Right.
That's got to stop. The dumping and chasing is what neutralizes those turnovers. We don't have a lot of skill on this team. Let's be honest, right? Besides Konechny, besides Bobby Brink, who looks pretty good with it, and Mitchkov, there's not really much people who could carry the puck into the zone without turning it over. The dump and chase is what we can do, right? Couturier, Forrester, Hathaway, TK, they can all go and go muck in the corners and win those battles. I think we need to start getting into that a little bit more instead of trying to carry into the zone. Let's eliminate the turnovers. Let's elevate the smart plays, which is the dump and chase, right? And let's just grind it out. We're never going to win any game 6-1, right? We don't have the skill for that. We're not going to outscore anyone. We need to outgrind people. And dumping and chasing is that method that I think needs to be utilized a little bit more on this team. It's not the way the NHL is turning and trending. Obviously, speed and skill is the mainstay of most teams in the NHL. It's just not for the Philadelphia Flyers right now. Torts knows that we don't have the skill to win skillful games. We have to grind it.
Yeah, and you know what? You're absolutely right. So the team does need to grind. They need to play better. And so Owen Tippett's been getting a lot of chances, right? He's been, know, off the rush. He's been getting nice, but eventually he's going to hit home. He hasn't been getting home as of late, but again, you're playing against, Sergei Bobrovsky, and he's been around the league now for quite some time, but it shows you why he's still a playmaker. But, like I said, eventually you're going to hit home, and maybe you're playing against this Sharks team, who's won 4 out of the last 6 games. But I think, with the Sharks, you can make something happen. But still, I just don't like I said, the turnovers in the neutral zone, I think they need to get better with. Like you said, you're still running. I get it. And a lot of people have been coming up to me and saying, well, it's the same team. It's still a process. Is it, though? I mean, because you had the same team from last year, the same guys, the same core young players, and they made some plays last year. The only difference was you had a better goaltending situation last year than you do this year. Right now, it's been the Sam Harrison show, and that's it. And without him under center, with him, without him between the pipes, this team really doesn't have a shot. If you can find him that complimentary goalie where he don't have to play the back-to-backs, kind of like the Embiid situation, right? Just a little bit better. If you can find him a complimentary piece, they should be fine. I think the offense at some point, and now look, it's the beginning of the season. It's still early. We're only a quarter, not even a quarter way into the season. And I get it. The people like myself who rip out their hair because all we want to do here in Philly is win. But we do have to take this thing with a little bit of patience. I just get upset because I'm told this is a process. I'm told this is a rebuild. But to me, when I look at it, right, I'll go back. Coots, up-and-coming guy, had all the potential, didn't do really much around his tender here. Right. Travis Konechny's tender. He's been here. I remember when he first got signed, I thought because of his speed and his accuracy, he was going to be the guy. What have they done around his tenure? He's been here for 8 years.
Right.
He's been in and out of playoffs. That's it. There hasn't been that longevity of a playoff run. Now, and it's always been we're rebuilding. How many times can we use that word? Let's win some. But again, this is now the Mitchkoff era. And now listen, John's taking it his time. And again, everybody thought he was out of his mind for benching him because he's, other than like you just said, Travis Konechny, he's been your most productive player on the ice. I mean, he's leading. Now I think it's like second in goals with in the NHL as far as rookies. So F Dallas. Yeah, that's the way to kick it off.
Yes, sir.
So, but again, this team's going to take its time to grow. And listen, you grind out, like I said, you take 3 points on the road from hard teams, playoff caliber teams. You come back home tomorrow against a San Jose Sharks team who's been playing a little better. It's funny, San Jose Sharks got to play today against the Devils. And then we kind of catch them on back to back. Hopefully, if you win today, you kind of you're moving up. You're kind of creeping into that wild card spot a little bit. So again, it's going to be a wait and see moment. Where else can they develop? And now listen, they did bring up, not to mention Ryan Poulin going down. He's on IR. Yeah. But how about this? How about this Anthony Richards that found the back of the net yesterday?
Yeah. I'm not holding out too much hope for him. I do want to touch a little bit on what you were talking about with Couturier and his error, and now the TK error and the Mitchkoff error. But I always put it as I hated this organization, right? I hated the way that we developed players. Couturier coming out of the minors was a massive goal scorer. I actually think that he broke Sidney Crosby's record in the minor leagues before getting drafted here. And when we brought him in, immediately, what did we do? He was a defensive stopper, right? He took every defensive draw that we had, every faceoff in the D zone. He was our guy. We put him up against Crosby. We put him up against the top players of every other team. You can't expect the guy to develop offensively when you're forcing him to be a defensive stopper, right? So that was a little bit on the organization. That's not on the player. Couturier, that was his role, and he excelled in it. Don't get me wrong, absolutely excelled in it. Selke winner, I think he should be, or at least should have been. Then you got TK, who you never surrounded him with another playmaker, right? You expected him to be the playmaker. You never let him develop into a goal scorer that he possibly could be. Even right now, he doesn't have anyone that's going to be a playmaker. Hopefully, Mitchkoff and him can grow a little bit in the next couple of years. But right now, TK has to make the plays for himself to get shots. He doesn't have anyone to really do it with. I don't know why when we had Giroux and TK was younger, we didn't try to pair them together and let TK work on his one-timers and work on being a goal scorer. But we never did that, right? TK was always played as a playmaker on whatever line he was in. Same thing with Mitchkoff, right? Now you have Mitchkoff. You need to make sure that you maximize his best potential, which is playmaking, right? Yeah. He is very skillful with the puck on his stick. Let's make sure we find a way to create space for him, right? Leave him with an Owen Tippett, who's a fast guy, who's going to open up the ice for him. Don't put him – I hate seeing him with Couturier, who's just – I love Couturier for what he is, but he's slow. He takes up too much ice. Tyson Foerster's another one. Just takes up too much ice, right? I want Mitchkoff in space. Let's find a way to put him on a line with maybe a Frost and Farabee or TK and Frost, something like that, where he's going to create space. That's the one reason why I hated seeing Jet go down. Right, because I thought Jet and Mitchkoff, you could pair them together. Yeah, they might suck this year, but hopefully next couple of years, that's going to be a hell of a line. hopefully we can see that going in the future.
Yeah, and listen, and so you bring up a good point about Mitchkov, and like I said, ultimately, like you said, so Nick asked a question: can someone explain to me why did they bench him? And we just said it. It's you're nurturing the guy. It's nothing against him.
Nope.
But to us, to me and John, it's the wake up call to the rest of the team. And still, even a little bit, I mean, like you saw the way they attacked in the first period. They just were shooting and shooting and shooting instead of pass. And ultimately, even some of the plays, like the Anthony Richards goal, I mean, beautiful by Ristolainen. He draws the 2-on-1. He does the drop pass. Right to TK. TK finds this Anthony Richards kid wide open in the middle. Boom. And the only thing right now that I can kind of criticize with the Flyers is the windows on defense that they leave open. And then again, you're talking about the Florida Panthers too. I mean, these guys, they create plays, they find spacing on the ice, and they just execute. And Sam Harrison had a tough time. Set screens, all that stuff. But it shows you the Flyers they showed you yesterday, they can hang with anybody if they really wanted to. I mean, the young legs of this team, and like I said, the Ryan Poolings, when he went down, I'm like, I'm scratching my head because to me, that's another young prospect, that's coming up. And this kid, Anthony Richards, who came in from Boston, who's been in, playing for the fans for a little bit, came up and immediately made their way. And speaking of Boston Bruin players who made some impact in yesterday's game, how about that move from Cutter Hathaway? Hathaway. He just makes a play that he goes around two defenders. He shoots it, and it goes through a slides by Big Bras, and what caused the game to go into overtime. So this Flyers team is showing you they're not willing to quit, not at all. And maybe the bonding on the roads helps. So I'm hoping they come back tomorrow at 4:00 against that Sharks team and be ready to rock and roll. So, and I'm going to ask you, John, is it going to be a Flyers win at home on Veterans Day for this Flyers team?
Yeah, I think they should handle. I believe it's the Sharks, right? I believe they should handle them pretty easily. I expect this team to win, by a couple goals. If you're betting, I would take the 1.5 goals spread and feel pretty comfortable with it. Like I said, I think this team is trending in all the right directions. There's nothing that I'm seeing where I'm like, oh man, this sucks. Even the goaltending, I think, is starting to kind of materialize into something that it has a little bit of promise. Ristolainen, you brought him up. He has been a absolute pleasure to watch this year. Big guy that can skate, and he is just wiping people out up against the boards. He's just been an absolute pleasure to watch. And from the trade that we got for him, I think it was a trade. It's really starting to materialize, seeing that he's healthy, right? He's always had injuries and always been down with some type of lower body injury. But man, when this kid's on the ice and he can play, I think he's one heck of a all-around player, let alone just defensively.
Yeah, and look, he again being real scary on the ice, and he stepped up for me because I looked at him. I want to say maybe last year. I'm like, why is he here? Blah blah blah. I was one of those guys, but you got to understand a defenseman's role, and he plays the role. He fits the bill. He's taken away. He's scoring opportunities. He's grinding against the boards. He does his job well. And again, it's a pleasure to watch. I think he's actually better in a little bit on the offense than he's on defense because, like I said, that smooth where he just drop the puck pass right to Travis Konechny. He looked really, really sweet. It was really well. And again, I think at some point, Owen Tippett is. I mean, you see, he's off the rush trying to make plays. He's trying to find the back of the net. I think at some point, maybe tomorrow, he's going to have himself a pair of goals, and he's definitely overdue to find the back of the net. And I think tomorrow could be an Owen Tippett day for sure. If you get him, get that first line, start clicking, the defense starts taking, doing their job. The Sam Harrisons of the world will handle business. They'll be just fine. But before we roll off the Flyers topic, yesterday or over the weekend, a Flyers legend got his Hall of Fame ring, going to the Hall of Fame. Jeremy Roenick going to the Hall of Fame. John, I didn't get your thoughts on this. How do you feel about Jeremy Roenick going to the Hall of Fame for the Philadelphia Flyers?
JR he is one of the best US born players to ever play this game. I don't know where he ranks in goals, but I would assume he's in the top 5 for US born players.
Yes, top 5.
He is, yeah, he's definitely one of the guys that has started to elevate what we are seeing now with the United States and especially college really being a driving force for the younger generation in the NHL. JR had a big helping hand in that. He was one of my dad's favorite players.
Yeah.
Loved watching him. Absolute typical Flyer, right? The grinder with a little bit of skill, but he ain't afraid to put his nose in there, right? He loved being in front of the net. He was a Philadelphia-born player if there ever was one, and I'm happy to see him get some praise for what he was for the NHL and get into the Hall.
You know what? Again, for a lot of guys that I grown up with, as far as the 90s, they had a couple of guys as far as Mount Rushmore of favorite Flyer guys, right? Yeah. They had of course, they had LOD. They had a couple, Bernie. They had a couple other guys. You could think of old school, and like I said, but growing up in the 90s, Mount Rushmore, LOD is on there, Eric Lindros, John Leclerc, and Brenda Moore. But Jeremy Roenick is on that Mount Rushmore as far as favorite Flyers of all time. I mean, he, like you said, he could do it all. He can shoot, he can block, he could fight, he could do it all. And a lot of guys growing up, play street hockey trying to imitate him. So again, a lot, he made a lot of NHL sports covers just based off his game. So I mean, he was the guy. So I loved his game. Great guy. Now listen, Lindros was my guy, but he wasn't too far. Obviously, you can see the jersey in the back, but he wasn't too far off of it. So great, kudos to Jeremy Roenick, going to the Hall. Great, specimen, all that stuff. But let's flip it over though, John, because we have we talk about franchise players. We have one going to actually make his debut. I don't think this was intended for the 76ers to have him start, but I think it kind of forced their hand after Tyrese Maxey goes down to a hamstring injury now, and of course he's coming off the suspension. I think he's going to be ready to rock and roll. But against the Knicks team, he kind of owns a revenge tour on them. But again, this is going to tell me where he's at as far as his health, where he's at as far as his body conditions, and a team that's not afraid of Joel Embiid are the 76 is the New York Knicks. The New York Knicks are not afraid to attack Joel Embiid within the paint, all that stuff.
Yeah, and we were talking a little bit Sixers before you came in. I was getting on it a little bit, and losing Maxey is just going to be devastating to this team. Joel Embiid coming back and going up against the Knicks. I believe it's a primetime game also. A nationally televised game. He's going to definitely be looking to get a little bit of revenge, but guess what? I think the Knicks have his number. I think the Knicks are going to run double teams, triple teams at him and say, somebody else beat us, right? So somebody else beat us. And I don't know who that else is. I think Joel Embiid's going to be put on lockdown. And then if he doesn't have a big game, this fan base and the media are just going to – the sharks are going to be circling Joel Embiid. He needs to come out and really have a good game. And I'm not talking about scoring because I don't think he's going to get a lot of buckets because they are going to run double teams. He's got to be smart with the ball. He's got to make the right play with the ball. Be a little bit unselfish. I'm not saying that he's a selfish player, but he needs to be a little bit unselfish in this game, like I said, because I think he's going to be seeing a lot of double teams. And someone else needs to step up. Hey, Kelly Oubre, love to see you today. Paul George, love to see you in this game.
Yeah, it's funny, too, because if you watch that Knicks game, that if you I know they're late games. They're in the 10 o'clock hour. I know a lot of people, but this is our job to cover these, the teams and all that stuff. So, and again, you just saw the mismatches that the opposing teams have. Like, who's stopping Anthony Davis down low, right? There's no one who could guard him. There's, Nick Nurse has all this creativity on offense, but there's nothing really going. There's no wing defending.
Nope.
There's no one stopping anyone on the perimeter. The opposing teams just have their way. And it was really tough to watch because I saw, and I love him, but I saw Kyle Lowry get 30 plus minutes and only give you 5 points. That's not going to do it. And then the other night, he only had 1 point. That's not going to cut. Like you said, these are aging role players that are getting too much time. Now, granted, Nick Nurse actually must have listened to somebody around here because he went to Jared McCain actually and gave him tons of minutes. And he actually had the most points off the bench with 18 the other night. But that's still not good enough. So sometimes I'll see Drummond, guarding on the perimeter. I'm like, what are we doing? And now, granted, he did have 12 rebounds. I was happy for that, but still, I don't want to butcher his name because I'm pretty butchering. But the kid, the French kid, he came over. He was actually starting to shoot from the perimeter. He's actually gotten better, but still, this team is a painful product to watch. It's actually just as bad as the process years. We're not intended to be the process. I know the injury bug has loomed and doomed this team. The Embiid nonsense has been taken over. And it's like, man, can we take care of the 76ers fans for once? I mean, we pay the bill here. We are coming, paying the food, paying the jerseys, paying the ticket to get into the building, paying the parking, and we get this. An aging team that can't give you 4 quarters of basketball. And it's painful to watch.
Yeah. And to your point with Kyle Lowry, if he was giving me something on the defensive side of the ball, I can live with it. But he is more useless on the defensive side of the ball than he is trying to score. We don't have anyone who can step up defensively. And you're right. I'm gonna butcher his name too. I'm just gonna call him our backup center right now.
Yes.
He's a good player. I think he has a decent shot from the outside, and maybe he can stretch the floor as a 5. But man, the mismatches that he has just given up. He can't guard Anthony Davis down low. He can't guard Anthony Davis out on the top of the key. It was just Carl Anthony Towns is going to have a field day with him. And I just don't know, where do we go? Does he slot maybe more into the 4 slot, the power forward slot, now that Joel's back, or is his minutes, is he done? Is he gone now? I don't know what kind of rotation that this team is going to use. Nick Nurse needs to find a way to integrate these players in the right situations, because they sure as heck have not been in the beginning of this season. Kyle Lowry's minutes need to be cut. Even bringing in the rookie, who is offensively gifted, he can light up the lamp. I can't see him guard. Jalen Brunson's going to toast him. I don't see what's going to happen here.
And you're right, because, and again, it's nice we're getting Paul George. We got Paul George back. He gave you 18 points on Wednesday. Not much the other day. Kyle Oubre is too inconsistent. You don't have today. You have the only thing that the 76ers have going for them is that the East, other than Cleveland,
sucks,
and Boston, that's it. I mean, you have a Charlotte team that's coming to South Philly tonight at 6:00 that you can actually compete with. But then I look at this team: can they? Will they? Because, like I was just mentioning, you have an inconsistent Kelly Oubre. You have a Kyle Lowry. He's lucky he's Nick Nurse's boy, who gives him nothing but tons of minutes. And you're just begging, like you said, Jared McCain to kind of go off for the Sixers. And that's it. I mean, Eric Gordon, he's giving you a little bit, 11 points here and there. That's great. That's groovy. But I mean, still, it's not enough to hang with. Again, you're going to have LaMelo Ball, who who leads that team in 28 points. You're going to
Playing
have
great.
Miles Bridges. You're going to have those guys. And like I said, can the Sixers compete with that? No. This Sixers team flat out just can't give you 4 quarters of basketball. They're flattened. Again, Drummond looks tired. He looks fatigued. He looks like, if you can give you close to 15 boards, that'd be asking too much. And like you said, this team is now begging for the big man to get back. Even if the big man, and it's crazy because what do we hear about Ben Simmons all through the summer? Oh, he developed a shot. We've been hearing for years that Joel Embiid has been losing weight. And he must be on the same diet plan as me because I'm at Wendy's just as much as that guy. You know what I mean? So I'm not worried about the developmental plan. Can you just get to the next level? And I get it. He's carrying this team on his back, and I get his frustrations. But, dude, come on, bro. And maybe it's not him. Maybe
superstar.
You're the superstar.
Right?
You got to take the punches that come with the program. So again, you're going to be the superstar. You got to roll with it. Again, Joel, you, Paul George, and Maxey are going to be the 3-headed monster for this team that gets out of these. And you can, like I said, other than competing with the Bostons and this out of nowhere Cleveland team, you're going to have to, you can do things, but we have to take off at some point. I get it. It's another team. We're early in the season, but we have to take off at some point. At some point, this team needs a kick, start up.
Yeah, and I think it's going to all determine is when are we actually going to see the big three play together, right? We're almost a 10th of the way through the year, maybe a little bit more now. What percentage of games do all three of these play together? Out of the 82, are we only going to get 20 games with all three of them? I mean, that's a reality, right? That is a reality. Paul George is going to go down with another injury. Mm-hmm. Maxey, he doesn't have a broken finger. He doesn't have a broken nose. He's got a hamstring. That's going to linger, right? The hamstrings don't go away usually. He's definitely going to be out 2 weeks, possibly more. So you're talking losing another 10th of the season, with that.
Yeah, and
by the time it comes to playoff time, they're not going to have chemistry to compete in this league. That's where I'm at with it.
So I see a comment that came in from my guy Joe Sullivan. He goes, "I like what Torts did. Part of the Sixers' problem is they call to the young players too early." Yeah, and listen, they are keeping those guys in bubble wrap, and I get it because I think the 76ers are trying to give these guys who are at the tail end of their careers use a one last time go around, and guys like Eric Gordon, the Paul Georges of the world, Drummonds, those guys, this is their time to shine, and they just shown you they're getting cooked. But you saw the whole West Coast trip. I mean, Kevin Durant, a veteran older player, but Kevin Durant is a special talent, and he's going to get his 35 minutes and 35 points of pain. Like that guy, you're not going to hang. And like you said, you're going to have little Jalen McCain trying to guard him. Like I said, those guys, they look for the mismatches. You're not going to, they got, like I said, the 76ers have nothing on defense. They don't have run a defense. Right. There's nothing down low. There's nothing but mismatches. They have the opposing offenses have nothing but great ball movement, and then they shoot the lights out from the perimeter. The Sixers can't guard the perimeter. They have no wing defenders. The opposition cooks everyone down in the paint. There's all nothing but mismatches. What do we have? What can we, like I said, we're begging for a player who may not be in the best conditions, who may not be, he might be at 75% healthy. It's a wait and see game. And like you said, the Knicks, they're not afraid of them. So it's a telltale story of what this team is. So, but yeah, like I said, LaMelo Ball today and the Charlotte Hornets coming to South Philly at 6 o'clock. We're hoping because the Sixers are on a 5-game losing streak. We're hoping they could turn this around. Hoping. And
Don't
it's
bet
just,
on them, boys.
Don't, please don't bet on them. So, I mean, where are you with Nick Nurse, though, John?
Yeah, I like Nick Nurse. I think Nick Nurse is a fine coach. I think everyone had to realize this. Listen, it's not a mystery, right? You go out and everyone wanted that third superstar when we lost Tobias Harris, right? You freed up all that money. We're going to go out and get a superstar. Once you lock into that philosophy and Paul George is going to be the guy, there's two things that come with that. One is injuries, right? We're not going to play a full season because of the history of what we have. We know Joel. We know Paul George, right? Injuries are going to happen. We're not going to have a great regular season. Two is the way that the salary cap is for the NBA. You now have to sign older players to player exempt contracts and all this stuff to get away from the salary cap and all this nonsense that the NBA does with the luxury taxes and all that stuff. Right? That's your only option, right? You have to sign guys that no one else really wants on 1-year player exempt contracts. And that's what we have. We have a Kyle Lowry because of that. We have a Caleb Martin because of that. We have an Andrew Drummond because of that. Like, these are the guys that we're stuck with. You have to realize that going in. Regular season, I said at the very first show, the regular season means nothing. I don't care if we come in 10th place. It needs to be the playoffs. That's it. If you're telling me Maxey, Paul George, Joel Embiid can all play without having any regular season camaraderie or knowing how to play together, you're telling me when it comes down to playoff time and crunch time, these three can do it? This is it. I'm all in. This is the year.
And listen, and you're right. Listen, ultimately, the story is for the 76ers playoff time. Can they crawl out of a second-round playoff spot? That's been the Joel Embiid story. Can he climb out of the hump just to get out of the second round?
That's it. Give me an Eastern Conference Finals. Yep.
That's all we ask and beg for. But I don't know. Like this, the longer this team, and I get it, it's still very early. But the longer these three guys do not gel, it's only going to hurt the team come playoff time. And like I said, maybe they will. Maybe in the next month or two they'll start. They'll all be on the floor together. But I get us Philadelphians. We're impatient for this. We can't take this. We can't take this brand of basketball. This wasn't promised to the casual 76ers fan. This was told the Joel Embiid tender. This was all going to turn around. But like you said, if you're a smart basketball Who's fan like yourself, John, you knew what you were getting into when you start signing into these all veteran players. You knew this was going to be a shot in the dark, and you're being optimistic and great. You're grabbing all these old names that means nothing. This is a 10 year ago Flyers move. Hey, listen, we're getting Vinny Cavier. Great. After a guy's been through 20 years of pain and agony. Great. We're great. And we're going to sign them to a big year deal. No, we're good. You know what I mean? Like you said, you're just buying yourself time. You're just trying. This is another way to tell the fan base we're not tanking without saying we're tanking this year. You know what I mean? So again, hopefully these guys can get on the floor together, start gelling with one another. And like I said, the East is still wide open. I get we only have one win on our belt, but the third seeded team only has 4 wins. 4. We're playing them tonight. I mean, this is not a team that's knocking down the walls or anything. This is a Charlotte basketball team that hopefully tonight. And the crazy part is this kind of game, even though we begged for him to get out of here, this would have been a Tobias Harris kind of game. This is a Tobias Harris kind of game. He would have took over a game like this tonight against Charlotte Hornets. When I look at the roster up and down currently, I don't know who could take over tonight. I don't know if I can point to a guy.
You're hoping Paul George gets 30 shots. Yeah. That's it.
And I mean, it's scary. You're scared for one of these old veteran guys. You're hoping that, and maybe Kelly Oubre comes tonight and puts on the show tonight. But you're begging for hope here. You're clamoring for hope. But let's get into another team, John, because listen, we talked about the Flyers, we talked about the Sixers, but this is Dallas week. This
is the week.
And John, I got to thank all the hosts around Philadelphia that I've talked to, kind of gave me their condolences about what this week means to them. And for me, John, like I stated, this is personal because my wife, I know people are like, how did you marry a Cowboys fan? Listen, when you see good cook on that resume, you just take it.
Yeah.
You leave out the other X's, but the check mark was says good cook, I took it. But listen, and listen, I'm probably going to get screamed at after the show, but that's okay. But John, there's going to be no Dak Prescott, which kind of scares me a little bit because is this going to be a Cooper Rush game that kind of catches the Eagles by surprise and they can, or are you just bypassing that? Just give me the Thursday. Let me see what the Eagles are against the Commanders. Where are you at?
Yeah, I want to say, give me Thursday. This game's already over, but I'm not. I'm a little scared. This is your prototypical game where you're going to get caught, right? This is you got the big game Thursday night, primetime game, short week against a team that you know you're going to have to beat if you want to win this division. Cowboys without Dak, you're probably overlooking it. You're probably not doing that much film. You're probably not hitting the pads as hard as you should during the week here. Getting ready for the short week next week. Cooper Rush is not a bad quarterback, guys. He can win some games. He has won some games for them in the past. He is electric when it comes to just getting out of the pocket and making some plays happen. That's going to be a little bit discerning for us with our secondary. I know they've been okay the past couple of weeks, but we're still a little shaky back there. We're very young back there. If Cooper Rush can start extending some of these plays and expecting our corners to stay with CD Lamb for 6 or 7 seconds, we could be in some trouble. We don't have to worry about their run game. Their run game is absolutely obsolete. It's a joke. But this passing game is pretty serious. They went out and they got a new little toy. The wide receiver, he's not a big splash, but he's a heck of a number 2 receiver, which now moves Tolbert into the slot where I think he can do a little bit of damage. So I am a little bit afraid today. I do think the Eagles still win, but it's going to be a closer game than people think.
Oh, absolutely. And again, just by off of last week, right? Of course, it looked like a convincing win for the Birds, steamrolling the Jacksonville Jaguars in that first half. However, a certain head coach making boneheaded decisions scares you in these kind of games because when the backs are against the wall, I don't know if he knows what to do. And it's kind of scary. Yeah. And I get it. A lot of guys are praising Nick Sirianni, praising him. Right. And then look, as they should, 5 games, they won straight. They look great. But let's be honest. These are bottom feeder teams that you're putting away, as you should. Yep. You're putting away the Giants, as you should. You're putting away a Bengals team that kind of is, let's be honest, is falling apart. That's fine. And Danny, a Jaguars team that doesn't belong in the NFL, that you gave Dougie P his last opportunity to come in here and try and make some noise for his team. They're trying to play, they know Dougie P's probably on his way out. They're trying to convince themselves, hey, let's play for Dougie P so he can keep his job. They know he's on his way out. And they gave you his best punch in Philadelphia and wasn't good enough. And again, one thing I can say about the Philadelphia Eagles in these get-right games is Jalen Hurts has looked magnificent in these get-right games. Jalen Hurts has looked really, really good in these get-right games. He's took care of business against the Giants, win 37-17. He's took care of business against – he played spectacular. He knows when to scramble at the pocket. He's given time. He's stretching plays down the field with his legs or with his arm. He's rolling out the pocket. He made nice tight throws to A.J. Brown, making that one-handed catch with Devontae Smith. He's starting to look like QB1 again. And where are you with Jalen Hurts there, John?
I'm still not sold on him in big time moments, but you're right. He has stepped up. Jalen Hurts is looking like a QB1. He's out there doing exactly what we said he needed to do 2 weeks ago, right? Let's stop throwing the ball 40 times a game. Let's get out of that. Let's get back to pounding the rock with Saquon. Let's get back to play action. That's where Jalen Hurts is going to excel. That's where we've been the last couple of weeks, and it's working. Now comes the uh, coaching of Nick Sirianni. Do we trust him to keep going? And I am all in. Nick Sirianni's my guy. I love him as a Philadelphia coach. He is all brash. He is all hype and excitement. He's my guy. I'm going to ride or die with him. Nick, all I ask, don't take points off the board. That's it. That's all I want.
They
don't
are there.
Leave points on the field.
No, and listen, they're lucky. Again, they're playing against the Jacksonville Jaguars, and they were coming back. They start to really, just like I said, when we all thought we could take our foot off the gas pedal, you start making dumb moves. It doesn't matter. An NFL team's an NFL team. They'll come back to bite you, and you can't do that. And again, if that was against the Commanders or the Lions, they will eat you alive for that, and you can't make those bonehead decisions. So again, Nick Sirianni has to be on his A game. And like you said, John, to open up our Eagle segment, don't take your foot off the pedal because Dak's not being, under center. Cooper Rush is just as dangerous. And he's still got fancy weapons around that team that can hurt you. You cannot, please, do not make any kind of idiotic mistakes. Like I said, the defense has come along, though. One thing about the Vic Fangio defense has come along, and I get it. Well, they look good against these bad defenses, but still, what's he do best? We've just seen he puts this team in the 3-4 defenses, have the guys drop back in the coverages, and make it tough plays for the opposition, take the ball down the field. That's been great. Jalen Hurts, 230 yards. 18 completions, 230 yards of TD, 2 TDs last week, has looked really, really good. He's been looking really sharp in these get-right games against the Giants, the Jaguars, Cincinnati. We just hope that could carry all over to down at Dallas, and, he could take care of business.
Yeah, and that's the other part, right, is we're on the road, right? We got to travel to Jerry's World. We have to know that we're on a short week, so preparation for next week is already started, right? Coaching staffs are already worried about the Commanders. That's the team that we need to focus on. You hope that you can skate through Cowboys unprepared, per se, a little bit less than prepared than what we normally would be in a week. Jalen Carter needs to have a big game. I know we say him in every single week he needs to have a big game, but I think he is the one that needs to have a big game. If we can put pressure on Cooper Rush and get him to roll out to the left side, I think that's going to be key today, right? Don't let him roll out to the right. Let's get him to roll out to the left if he's going to get out of the pocket. Let's really protect that right. So I do want to see a little bit more edge rushing on his arm side instead of coming down the center a little bit more on that edge.
And you know what? Like, I got to ask you too, John. I know ESPN, the whole wide world saw it. What was your take on the Saquon Barkley leapfrog backwards? Yeah, I mean, that was something incredible, right?
Yeah.
And
never seen it before.
Never seen it before. And listen, I asked the question, what was a bigger gift wrapping? I know it's been 2 years, but bigger gift wrapping from New York, Saquon Barkley or Zach Wheeler? This year alone, it's been nothing but a beautiful gift wrapping from New York. So, and again, it was like the stuff he's pulling, like I said, 159 yards last week for 27 carries and a TD. He's looked great. And again, if anybody who's going to take big gashes out of that Cowboys defense, it's going to be Saquon. It's going to be Saquon.
Yeah, I think Saquon needs to be the game. But on that run, people forget, like, he did a juke and a spin right before leaping 5 feet in the air. I've never seen an athletic move like that before in my life. I mean, not even in the NBA have I seen anything like that.
No,
It's just what this guy could do. It's absolutely phenomenal and crazy.
and it's crazy because like prior to him coming to Philadelphia, some guys were asking how much he's got left in the tank.
Yep.
It's more so Saquon Barkley just needed a new scenery, and he's playing for the team he grew up to love. Of course, he's going to ball out,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
all he does is just rip gashes out of opposing defenses.
Yeah, and right, the New York Giants said it, right? We're not going to re-sign him because we think we took his best years. We think that he's all run out. And maybe he has, but I'll tell you one thing. He's got one more year. He's got this year. And he's showing the world, I'm not done. I'm still the phenom that everyone thought I was. I'm still the man. Maybe that wears off in year 2 and year 3, but he's coming out firing this year and trying to show the world, I'm still the best in the world.
And again, another complimentary piece to what another complimentary piece of what Jalen Hurts is trying to do under center, right? He's got someone who can run the rock well, ripping gadgets out of opposing defense. Now he can extend plays with his legs. He's going to check down, read the defense, see where they're going. And of course, he makes plays, tight windows and all that stuff. And again, doing the complementary of Jalen Hurts, Saquon, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. It's a lot of – you're asking a lot out of your defense to try to stop, and it's going to be tough from here on out.
What area do you shut down, right? What area do you guard? Are you going to say Jalen Hurts beat us? Because if you leave A.J. Brown one-on-one against anyone in this league, he's going to win. If you leave Devontae Smith without somebody over the top on him going deep, he's going to out-jump you. He's going to high point every single ball that we throw to him. If you leave Dallas Goedert one-on-one on a linebacker down the center, guess what? Dallas Goedert's going to win. If you don't stack the box, 8 people in the box, Saquon and this offensive line are going to gas you. So, yeah, I mean, you just, as a defensive coordinator, you're just throwing your hands up and just throwing darts at your play call and then hoping it works for that play.
And it's funny because, of course, right at the gates, the Eagles didn't look so hot. They got but again, it showed you how much this team needed a little bit of preseason. But we're past that now because this team is clicking. This team is gelling. Like you said, the offensive play calling has been a lot better.
Yeah.
The defensive the defensive playing has been a lot better. The team is just gelling at the right time. And like I said, the Vic Fangio defense, like I said, they line up. They're playing well. They're dropping back in coverages. They are looking really, really good right now.
Yeah, and a guy that I am absolutely love watching right now, Cooper DeJean, is really starting to come into his own, right? We put him in the slot, which we drafted him, that was the spot I wanted him to be in. He looks like he's going to be a staple there. Devion Mitchell is really coming into his own too. I know he doesn't have the interception numbers that he probably should have. He has a couple drops, but we know that he's a lockdown guy. And we have that now, hopefully, for the next 7 years. So between those two is really going to eliminate one whole side of the field and make Vic play calling a lot easier and a little bit more open for him.
Yeah, and like I said, that's going to be a lot better. Now I'm saying with score predictions. Adam, I'm going to say this game is going to be kind of close. I'm going to go that realm of 21-24 Birds.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm right there. I got a little bit higher of a score, and I have 27-24. But I'm right there, 27-21, something like that. It's going to be a one-possession game. It's going to be a close game. Cooper Rush is going to try to win some hearts this week, right? We saw him a couple of years ago lead this team to 3 or 4 wins. He is a capable quarterback who is looking to earn his spot somewhere in this league. He's going to come out on all cylinders today and show the world that he can be a quarterback in this league.
Yeah, so listen, I think the Birds are going to win this. But again, I think because the Cowboys are on a 3-game losing streak, you got a new quarterback coming into play. It's desperate mode for the Cowboys, and they need it, coming around. But listen, guys, for me, John, We got to get ready to rock and roll, guys. Go Birds. We're ready to rock out here. Guys, see you later. We'll catch you later.
Take care, guys. Go Birds.